Chris Howland. I was born here on the Isle of Man and lived here most of my life. Principally employed for most of my career as a banker in the financial services industry on the island. I have a wife and 3 children, 2 of whom fled the nest some time ago, 1 remaining still on the island. I took the decision to take early retirement 4 years ago. My youngest son lives in Singapore and is, in fact, a finance service professional and investment advisor himself. He knew of my situation. We'd obviously discussed it. He also knew of a financial planner in the Isle of Man, personally, and he recommended that I make an appointment, given my circumstances, and go and speak to her, which I did, thankfully. Money was a necessity when you were growing up and looking after a family. Money was a byproduct, a reward almost, I suppose, from career advancement. It was a necessity to be able to live, and thoughts about money in the future were based around occupational pensions, savings, and a woolly date in the future where it may become more important than it was. The basic elements, the planning, etc., are the same. It's certainly something that you need, but I think my thinking about the value of money has changed. The value of money is not a predetermined amount of currency. I think the value of money to me now is what it can bring to your life. A lot of people spend a huge amount of time worrying about it. I think the process has taught me that I don't need to worry too much about it. But it's in an enabler. It's an enabler to live your life, hopefully the way you want it. But it's also an enabler to think about children and grandchildren, rather than just a basic asset that may or may not be passed on. So I think the power of money now is my conception or misconception of the power of money has changed significantly. I think the expression peace of mind comes to mind when I think about the financial planning process and how I feel about money now. I think there are some powerful tools that our financial planner has in terms of graphically illustrating where you are, where you want to be, and where you will be in a period of 20 to 25 years. And I think reassurance is another word that comes to mind, in as much as you have the assurance and reassurance that you can live broadly the lifestyle you want, whilst not being concerned too much about future generations. I think people born in my generation had an expectation that they wanted to look after their family. A lot of them weren't empowered to do so or supported to do so, and I feel that I am empowered and supported in my aspirations for my children and my grandchildren. I think it's something that a lot of people have difficulty in relating to, probably due to some of the past scandals, press comments, media comments around the excesses of the industry as it was. I think one of my regrets is not getting involved earlier in the process. And I think if I were addressing a bunch of IFAs or planners or advisors, I would say that it's pretty important to get people into the process and get them comfortable with it and starting the process a lot earlier than I did. I wouldn't consider myself to be an arrogant person in any way, but I had worked in the industry for a long time, and I thought that I would be relatively capable of looking after myself as I got older, based on the knowledge that I had and the contacts that I had. I think the one thing that surprised me more than anything else was a complete lack of the word product in any of the pre-discussions or the planning discussions, and indeed in the last 4.5 years since I've been an active participant in the process, the word product has never, ever been mentioned by my planner nor by myself. I think the surprise or the light bulb moment for me, having gone through the initial process and accepted it and signed up for it, was the very graphic illustration on a wall, on a big screen, of a lifetime projected cash flow for myself and my wife, which took my breath away, to be quite honest with you, to start off with. Knowing that you had input all this information to this particular process and seeing the outcome was a major moment, and it sort of reinforced how important it was that I had gone through the process. I think the assurance, the reassurance, the gatekeeping activities that my financial planner does for me, the opportunity to have an introduction and a proper relationship with a portfolio manager who understands the process, understands the aspirations, understands the plan, understands my wife and I attitude to risk. All of that would come under the word assurance or reassurance and peace of mind. And I think from that point of view, it's removed a burden. The burden is now a positive one of future advice for future generations, and that's a joyful thing. My financial planner is a chartered financial planner. I didn't really understand the absolute meaning of the word chartered when I first entered the process. I think I was given the opportunity to serve on their client advisory board, and through that process and inclusion, I have learned what chartered means. I think it is probably the gold standard. I'm not saying for one moment that those firms that aren't chartered are not good. I just think chartered elevates the firm ever so slightly, in my mind as a client. Certainly it does, and it's been an enjoyable and inclusive process, and one that I would thoroughly recommend to anybody else.